Hello, hi friends, and welcome back to this YouTube channel, which again has been paused for a while, but today I am back, and in today's video I want to share with you some of my notable or memorable reads from 2022. Lately I've been having a bit of a problem with the whole concept of favorite, best books, because my relationship to books just changed across the years and over the years, and right now I don't see them as an object of evaluation as much as I see them the subject of storytelling, and in a way a mirror to much of what goes on inside of my head and heart. And so I do not rate books anymore or evaluate them in that sense. I am critical, and above all I do enjoy the words of others, and that's why I do love reading. So overall, these books are some of the books that I've read that have left a particular mark, either by the subject matter they discuss or simply by the storytelling and the power of it. And so I want to share them with you because I feel like there is something to learn and something to be communicated through those works, and I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you find something you like in this little pile. Well, it's not so little. It is, however, colorful. Look at this. I don't know if I'm spoiling the fun already, but I just love the colors. And so without any further ado, we can jump right into this list. It's exciting. Alright, first book. This first book takes us to Nairobi, Kenya, which also was one of the highlights of my 22. I've had the immense pleasure of spending some time there for research, but I just fell in love with the people of this country. Shout out to all my Kenyan friends out there. These people are such sweethearts. The kindness, the vibe, the goodness that they shine is very special. And while there, I picked up a book by Jackson Biko, Thursdays. This tells the story of a band, so a group of young people. Some of them go to university, some of them work, but they share a huge passion for music and wanting to make it in the Kenyan scene and East African music scene by developing this new genre that they do not call Afrobeats. But yeah, so we follow the journey of this group of people as they're making their way in the busy streets of Nairobi, performing in a small, tiny bar, not getting any attention but striving to get that, and fighting their way hard. The ending is really surprising, and it's just such a realistic slap, and I love it. I do not want to spoil anything, but the characters are so diverse and so different. So we do have a coder that does music in the evening, we do have somebody who's battling with very bad mental illness, we have a Muslim girl in here that's trying to be such a strong voice within that group, we do have somebody who's trying to change his story and his past to fit into this new life, and we follow them. It's tiny and it's a joy, and it's, you root for them, but life happens, and it's such a beautiful tale. And I truly enjoyed the humorous tone and voice of Jackson Biko, or Biko, and I'm happy I got to read a Kenyan voice actually, so it would be great if you could check him out and venture around that area in literature and that geographical context and get something fun and probably heartwarming out of it. So that's our first boy. The second one is still in the topic of mental health. I've spoken about this book in one of my previous videos, I'm not sure which one anymore, and that one is Starling Days by Rowan Hisawan. This, we follow this young lady who is just suffering from depression, and she moves from New York to London because her husband got this opportunity, this work opportunity, and he thought that by changing their environment, their surrounding, her wife could start anew, be better, or focus more on working on her mental health with her therapist via Zoom calls. But yeah, and so this book is a difficult one. It's not a nice walk in the park. It deals with really deep topics of depression, of self-harm, of everything that is, you know, on the harmful spectrum of mental health, so go into this knowing that, but we also explore a little bit the banality of everyday life and the contrast with whatever is going on in the human mind. So contrasting the human mind with the banality of everyday life and trying to bridge that gap. The main character is so real, she's not very likable, and sometimes as a reader you read about that and you want to have more empathy toward her because she's really suffering, and you do, but still you don't necessarily like her, and this is really poignant and real, and the whole reading experience is very special because you also question the nature of your sense of ethics as you read that book. At least this was my experience. The voice is really strong, and the footing is steady with this one, but I would really recommend it because there is some poetic symphony to the writing as well. Next up on the list is Kitchen by Banana Yoshimoto. I have seen this book around for a while in some of the accounts I follow, and I've been wanting to read it for such a long time because this book is from the 80s and it got republished, and we follow this main protagonist who lost her mother and loves kitchens basically, and she tells us her story of how she meets key people in her life all through the lenses of a kitchen, or her love for a kitchen. This one was something interesting because at the heart of it is an exploration of identity, sexuality, social relationships, and how we relate to people around us, and how we take those relationships across our life, and how they change through times, and the fluidity of social relationships. And this element of kitchen and of food was comforting and very heartwarming. This is Japanese literature, so this is something you might want to check out. And look at this pretty cover. Amazing. Staying a bit with the topic of motherhood, but a bit more pronounced, comes Burnt Sugar by Avni Dochi. This is now more into Indian literature, so the author is Indian, I think Indian American or Indian British, does not really matter because the story is set in India. More specifically, I already forgot. How can I already forgot when I read this not so long ago? Okay, Pune, I think it's in the city of Pune, but cover again wonderful. This book is all about the relationship of the main protagonist to her mother growing up, which has been one hell of a ride. So this relationship is not a good one. There is so much toxicity involved, so many complications, such a difficult mother-daughter experience, and it is told with this lens of multi-generation. So we also see how her mom was affected by the environment she grew up in, and how that affected her, and how that translates into her own daughter when she gets one. There's a lot about the social structure, the family structure, making your way while you have to kind of deal with those dynamics. The writing is so incredibly good. This is one of those books that would amaze you with the writing, because the writing is simply just out of this world. It's so well done. It's a debut novel, and the writing was amazing. It took me a while to get through it, just because sometimes you read certain parts and it's a bit of a shock. It's shocking whatever you're reading. There's a lot of sort of abuse, emotional abuse, and yeah, so just make sure you know about that going into this, and maybe that's something you want to add into your list, because again, you are exploring a different context, which is India this time. Next is another book on motherhood. Guys, I swear I am not about to become a mother anytime soon, and I also have a very healthy, loving relationship with my mom. So I'm not in any sort of life crisis. However, there comes The Lost Daughter by Elena Ferrante. Some of you might know it because it's a Netflix movie apparently. I only knew about this later. But here we follow the life of this mom whose whom daughters have grown up, so they are grown ups, they left the house, and she is just happy to be alone by herself again. It's a bit of this shameful journey into the life of a mother who got rid of her daughters finally, and she can live her life. And we get to know about how she was married to this man, how she got pregnant the first time, the second time, the type of relationship she had with her daughters. She tells us some of her dark stories while the kids were growing up, and her constant feeling of living for others and having no identity of herself because she is the mother of these girls. So she packs up her bags and she goes to a coastal village, and she is there for the summer, and she meets this family. There's a lot going on, but this is the best metaphor I've read on motherhood so far, and I read quite a few. So yeah, and this is Italy. For your context, you do have a bit of, well, I mean, quite some diversity in terms of context. Great transition, because we're gonna go away from motherhood, but we're gonna stay in Italy. Rome of the 60s, with Last Summer in the City by Gianfranco Caligaric. This is pure art in the form of a book. This is such a me story. We follow the main protagonist. It's Rome, it's the 60s, it's the summer, it's hot, it's sticky. He meets a woman, a potential romantic interest, which will never become that. And then we follow these people as they roam through Rome. There's an Alfa Romeo, there's a lot of trattorias, a lot of drinking involved, a lot of dolce vita and dolce far niente, literally, and a lot of mental health issues as well. And it's the 60s, so you can tell that it is a different time and day. You see that these characters are suffering. You see that these characters all have dark struggles, but it is kind of beautified with Rome as a setting, and we follow them, and it is just pure magic. It was written originally in Italian, and I think the first publication was in the 70s or the 60s or the 80s, something like that, and then they printed it again, and so here we are. I think you should pick up this book. It's so good. I think if there's one if you're gonna pick two books out of this list, I would say this one and another one coming, because I feel that a lot of people would also enjoy this. Because of this Italian Rome element, and it's very much character driven, so it's literary fiction, nothing really happens, but it's the best type of fiction. I mean, rolling again, we move to non-fiction, and Yarman, Chroma, the Book of Color. This book is all about colors. I think I spoke about it in one of my videos before, and this book is the work of the artist towards the end of his life as he was losing his sight. And he was describing the colors of his life and what these colors represent for him. But not only do we get that, we also get a history of the colors in art. So he dived into this dissection of colors and their meanings, and how artists throughout time have used certain colors to express their artistic craft, and why they did so and how they did so. And he even gets into the technicalities of making certain colors, which I truly enjoyed. But above all, he is completely throwing a mist of nostalgia around the colors. Colors are very nostalgic. They remind us of moments of our lives, of feelings we felt, of summers we've lived, winters, family moments, and we all have that one color that is simply just too close to home. And so he tried to do that with the spectrum of colors, and it's so beautiful, so lyrical, so much substance in this book, and it's also short, and I would also highly recommend you pick it up, especially for the artistic ones of you out there. I think you'd enjoy it. Lastly, Grande Finale, my favorite book. This one I can say. By favorite, I mean the one I had the most enjoyable reading experience while I was reading it. That is A General Theory of Oblivion by Jose Eduardo Agualusa. This is set in Angola around the time of independence. So we follow Ludo, who hides in her house as the revolution starts, as the Angolese people are leading their people into independence from the Portuguese colonial rule. She locks herself in and she stays locked for years and years. She grows old in that house. She uses the books for reading, but then also for heating up. She has a garden, she makes her own food, and then she does meet a person or two, and she eventually meets this boy, and things change and shake. But oh my god, the writing, it's so beautiful. I feel like I've already spoken about this book in one of my other videos. I will try to find it and link it to you guys here. But the journey of reading this work, that is the translation from Portuguese, was amazing. This is the craft, the writing craft I aspire to have one day. The story is so endearing. Ludo's story is beautifully told. The chapters are amazing. You learn so much about the history of Angola. You feel for her, you live with her, and you live with so many other characters, and all of them come together in those beautiful connections, and you keep getting amazed and you keep getting surprised in the most beautiful way. It was such a nice journey, and all I can tell you is that I keep such a precious memory of my reading time, reading the book. So if there is a second book you would pick from this pile, it would be A General Theory of Oblivion. I would say this is the first option, and then The Last Summer in the City, but all of them, the readers among you, I think you'd enjoy all of these books, honestly. Here we are. Those were my happy corner bubble of books from this year. A lovely pile, lovely colors, happy Sofia. Make sure you let me know in the comments down below what were your favorite reads from 2022 and what should I pick up next and add to the TBR. Make sure you also follow me on Instagram. Sometimes I do post the book reviews that as I read them. And also, yeah, if you just want to enjoy my tiny capturing the moments of my life. And thank you so much for being around, for sticking around. It's always such a pleasure for me to sit down and make those videos and talk to you again and catch up with you again. I hope I'm a nice background noise to you guys, and I hope you get something out of this. So until my next video, stay loving, stay safe, stay happy, stay grateful, and happy times. Bye.